You ever drive past one of those gas stations in the middle of nowhere and wonder, who the hell works here at 2 a.m.? Well, I am that guy. Osterman Gas off Route 77 ain't just a rest stop. It's a checkpoint between the known and the unspeakable. We got rules posted in the back room, carved into metal, stained with something dark. Break them, you won't die. You'll wish you had. There's a stretch of asphalt between Las Cruces and Gallup that doesn't show up on any GPS anymore. Route 77. Most people assume it's been closed down, buried under sandstorms and forgotten by the Department of Transportation. But those of us who work the late shift, we know different. Osterman Gas is the last lit sign before the world goes dark. That I started this job because I needed to disappear. No questions asked. My name's Danny Holloway. Used to be a paramedic until a call went wrong and a kid died in my arms. After that, I just couldn't take the sirens anymore. I needed quiet, silence, solitude. That's exactly what I got. Until the rules showed up. My first shift I arrived around sunset. The gas station looked like something out of a broken memory. Flickering neon sign, rusted gas pumps, windows smeared with desert dust and fly guts. The balding man in a stained mechanic's jumpsuit waited for me out front. He didn't smile, didn't introduce himself, just handed me a ring of keys and a yellowed folder. Inside the folder was a laminated sheet labeled in bold, "Rules for night shift. Osterman Gas, do not deviate." There were 9 rules, written in ink that looked faded, or maybe dried blood. I read them out loud. Confused at first, the rules locked the front doors at exactly 11:11 p.m. No sooner, no later. Between 12 a.m. and 1 a.m., do not look out the south-facing window. If you hear tapping, ignore it. If a customer enters between 2:33 a.m. and 3:03 a.m. wearing a black suit and no shoes, do not speak to him. Ring him up silently and do not break eye contact. He'll leave a tip in teeth. Accept it. The soda fountain will dispense blood at 3:15 a.m. Do not clean it up until 4 a.m. It isn't your blood. If you hear crying from the bathroom, knock once. If it stops, you're safe. If it continues, leave the building immediately and wait by pump 6 for exactly 6 minutes. Never answer the payphone. It hasn't rung since 1994. If it rings, it's not for you. At 4:44 a.m., check the walk-in freezer. If you see an eye looking out from inside the meat, speak the phrase, "I see you." You're not welcome. Close the door. Do not open it. Again, you may get a delivery at 5 a.m. The truck will have no logo. Accept the crate, but do not open it. Put it in the storage room marked X and lock the door. Burn the receipt. If the lights go out between any of these steps, hide. Pray. Do not breathe loud. I laughed when I first read them. Thought it was some messed up initiation prank. But the man who gave me the keys, he just stared at me and said, "You follow the rules, or you'll end up like the others." Then he got in his rusted pickup and drove off, disappearing down the black horizon. 11:11 p.m. The doors locked themselves. I wasn't paying attention. I was restocking shelves when the power flickered once, and I checked the clock. 11:12 p.m. The front door slammed shut, and then I heard the first knock. 3 soft taps from the south window. I froze. I hadn't even made it to Rule 2 yet. My gut said don't look. But curiosity, it's a disease, man. I peeked. There was something pale staring in. Too tall. No mouth. Just a smooth, waxy face with human eyes and antlers. Real, twisted bone. It tilted its head at me. Like it was disappointed. I backed away slowly. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe. And the next second, it was gone. But the window had a handprint on it. From the inside. The payphone rang at midnight. I swear it hadn't worked in years. But right at midnight, the payphone outside started ringing. Long, drawn-out rings like something was calling from far away. I ignored it. I remembered Rule 6. I kept restocking chips. My hands were shaking. The ringing stopped after the 6th ring. That's when I noticed a pack of Doritos had teeth marks in it. 2:33 a.m. The man with no shoes, he entered like a ghost. Dressed in a black suit. Pale. Tall, hair slicked back, skin dry like old paper, and no shoes. His feet were caked in dust and blood. I tried to greet him, but my throat locked up. Some instinct told me not to speak. He walked up to the counter, bought a single bottle of gasoline and a lighter, paid in coins made of teeth. I didn't blink. I didn't break eye contact. I rang him up and handed him his receipt. He smiled, but his teeth were all wrong that he left without another word. The air smelled like burnt skin after he was gone. 3:15 a.m. The soda fountain bleeds. I heard the machine were to life. Walked over to check. Thick, crimson liquid poured from the Sprite nozzle. It smelled like copper. I backed away. Remembered rule 4. Let it bleed. Don't clean it until 4. Then the crying started from the bathroom. The crying in the bathroom, it was faint. At first, like a little girl. Then it got louder. Angrier. I walked toward the bathroom door. Knocked once. The crying stopped immediately. But just before I turned around, the door handle twitched. I heard breathing. Not mine. Something raspy. Hungry. I didn't stay. I sprinted out the back door and waited by pump 6. For 6 minutes, exactly. When I went back inside, the door to the bathroom was open. The light was off. On the mirror, someone had written, "See you soon, Danny." 4:44 a.m. The eye in the freezer. The walk-in freezer door had frost on the edges, but no cold air seeped out. That's the first thing that was wrong. I opened it, and in the hanging slabs of meat, and I blinked at me. Huge. Yellow. With a slit pupil. I said the words from the rules. "I see you. You're not welcome." The eye closed. The freezer sighed. I shut the door and locked it. From behind the door, I heard something whisper, "You remembered me." 5:00 a.m. The delivery truck. No headlights. No engine sound. Just there, idling, silently in front of pump 3. A man in a raincoat, despite the desert heat, lowered a crate with shaking hands. He didn't speak. Didn't look me in the eye. I rolled the crate inside. It was heavy. Something inside shifted. I placed it in the storage room marked with an X and locked the door. Burned the receipt. The flames ate the paper. I heard scratching from inside the crate. 6:00 a.m. The sun rises. Kinda. The sky turned a faint violet. Birds chirped once and stopped. I stood outside, lighting a cigarette, thinking maybe I imagined it all, until I saw the man in the suit again, standing near the highway, watching the car. No movement. Just watching. He raised one hand. Not waving. Just acknowledging me. And then he was gone. Backroom note. Before my shift ended, I checked the manager's desk again. Found a torn piece of paper shoved behind the drawer. It said, "You think the rules are strange now? Wait until your 3rd shift. That's when the real rules begin." Last night, I survived my first shift at Osterman Gas. I followed all 9 rules. I ignored the tapping at the window. I stared down the man with no shoes. I watched the soda fountain bleed and left the crying girl in the bathroom alone. The rules were simple, but they were sacred. Break them, and the gas station breaks you. But what no one warned me about was what happens when someone else breaks the rules. July 3rd, 9:47 p.m. The next shift started like normal. Desert wind howled like it always did. The air smelled like ozone and ash. I was still shaking from the previous night, but something in me had shifted. Osterman Gas wasn't just a job. It was a test. And somehow, I'd passed round 1. I locked up my bike behind the storage shed, opened the rusted door with the same hearing the bald man had given me. The inside smelled of dust, oil, and something sour. Something that clung to the air like rot trapped in the wood. But this time, there was a note on the counter. Fresh, written in black Sharpie. "Don't trust the guy in the blue hoodie. He's not on the schedule. He never was." J. Who the hell was J? I checked the shift log. Only my name was listed. But at exactly 10:13 p.m., the bell above the door jingled. 10:13 p.m. The stranger arrives. He walked in like he owned the place. Looked about 24, jittery, skinny, wearing a faded blue hoodie. Big eyes. No name tag. "Yo, you Danny?" he asked. I paused. "Yeah." He extended his hand. "Name's Caleb. HR sent me to shadow you tonight. New trainee. Said you'd show me the ropes." Bullshit. HR? What HR? There wasn't even a working fax machine here. Osterman Gas didn't even have a website, but something in his voice was human. Normal. Too normal. That's what made it feel. Wrong. 10:40 p.m. I decided to test him. I asked, "Did they tell you about the rules?" He smiled like it was a joke. "You mean the ghost stories?" He rolled his eyes. Some old dude handed me a creepy list. I figured it was hazing. So he had the rules, but he wasn't following them. That's when I knew. He wasn't supposed to be here. And if he stayed the night, we were both going to die. 11:11 p.m. He broke the first rule I told him. We locked the front doors at exactly 11:11. Not earlier. Not later. He laughed. Dude, you really take that stuff seriously? At 11:09 p.m., I went to the back room to grab supplies. By the time I returned, he had locked the doors. 2 minutes early, I heard a low groaning noise from outside, like something ancient was waking up. Then the power flickered. Once, twice. The station fell completely silent. Caleb chuckled. See? Nothing happened. That's when every light in the building went out. 11:13 p.m. Shadows in the aisle's emergency lights kicked in. Dim red glow, but something was wrong. I saw movement in aisle 3. Then aisle 5. Slithering, crawling, dozens of figures, long arms, skinless, eyeless, writhing like they were born in the dark. They weren't attacking. They were searching for him. Because he broke the timing. I grabbed Caleb by the hoodie, pulled him behind the counter. Don't move, I hissed. He tried to speak, but I covered his mouth. We crouched there in silence while they slithered past, and one of them stopped right in front of us. It leaned over the counter, sniffed the air. Its mouth opened in a silent scream. 1,000 teeth. Then it whispered, "He doesn't belong." And just like that, they were gone. Midnight. The phone rings again. Who the fuck were those things? Caleb shouted as the lights flickered. Back on. I was about to yell when the payphone outside rang again. Long, slow, insistent. Caleb stood up. You want me to get that? No, I snapped. No matter what, don't answer it. But he was already walking toward the door. He pulled it open, against the rules, and stepped outside. I shouted after him. Don't pick it up. He picked it up. The call wasn't a call. The moment the receiver touched his ear, Caleb went rigid. Then he started bleeding. From his ears, nose, mouth. I ran out. Tried to grab the phone from him, but it melted into his hand. Metal fused to flesh. He screamed. The sky turned a sick shade of red for 3 seconds, and then he dropped. Face first, eyes open, still smiling. But his body? It kept twitching. He gasped like someone drowning in air and whispered, "It's coming through." Then he started humming. A lullaby I hadn't heard since I was 5. My mother's lullaby. But my mother had been dead for 17 years. 3:03 a.m. The rules bend. I dragged Caleb's body inside. Locked the doors again. There was blood on the floor. But it wasn't red. It shimmered like oil. And when I blinked, it spelled out words. It's not him you should fear. It's the ones who come next. 3:03 a.m. hit. I waited for the man in the black suit. But instead, someone else entered. A woman. Tall. Hair like smoke. No face. Just a blank, pulsing surface. She walked slowly down aisle 2. Each step made the shelves wilt. I crouched behind the freezer, whispering the rules to myself like a prayer. She turned her head. No eyes, no mouth. But somehow, she looked at me. Then she said, in a dozen voices, Rule 10. There was no rule. 10.4:44 a.m. The freezer opens itself. I heard it. The click. The freezer door swung open by itself. The eye was back. But this time, it had multiplied. There were 4 of them now, each watching, each blinking in different rhythms. And something walked out. It looked like Caleb. But it wasn't Caleb. This version smiled too wide. Its joints moved backwards. Its spine cracked like branches with every step. It stood at the counter, tapping the register. Tap, tap, tap. We don't accept your kind here. It hissed, and the lights went out again. 5:00 a.m. The crate shakes. The delivery truck returned. No headlights, no driver, just the crate, sitting silently near the entrance. Except this time, the crate was already open. Inside, a mirror, covered in blood. I saw my reflection. Except it wasn't me. It was the version of me I'd become if I ever broke the rules. He smiled, raised his hand. Behind him, all the figures from earlier stared. Waiting. 5:59 a.m. Final warning. Caleb's voice came from the bathroom. You broke it. Now you finish it. I walked to the mirror again. My reflection raised a single hand and pointed to the back room. Carved into the wood, a new rule had appeared. Rule 10. If another breaks the rules, you must choose. Let them die, or take their place. I stood over Caleb's twitching body. I knew what I had to do. I dragged him to the freezer, said the words, I see you. You're not welcome, and shut the door. 6:00 a.m. The shift ends. The sun never really rises here. Just a pale light, like the world's trying to pretend it's still turning. I stood outside, smoking, watching the empty highway. Then I saw him, the bald man from day one. He stood across the road, holding a fresh list, smiling. He waved once and vanished into dust. They said the gas station was cursed. They said no one survived 3 nights in a row. But I'm still here, breathing, bleeding, watching shadows crawl under fluorescent lights. The rules were meant to protect us, but on my 3rd shift, they rewrote themselves. Now the walls move, the freezer whispers, and something wearing my dead coworker's skin wants in. Welcome back to Osterman Gas. We're open all night. July 4 to 9 o'clock p.m. I didn't go home after shift 2. Couldn't. I sat on the roof, chain smoking, watching the desert twitch under the pale moonlight. I was scared to sleep. Every time I blinked, I saw Caleb's face melting into the payphone. His smile, his last words, "It's coming through." By 8:55 p.m., a new note was taped to the gas pump, written in something that looked like burned paper ash. "Congratulations. You've entered phase 2. New rules apply now. Burn the old list. And remember, don't trust your own reflection." The new releasee found the list inside the register drawer where the cigarettes used to be, freshly typed, taped with human hair. New night shift protocol. Phase 2 from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. You will hear voices calling your name from the roof. Do not respond. They sound like loved ones. They are not. The freezer will open at 11:11 p.m. on its own. Do not close it. Let it breathe. A man wearing Caleb's body will knock on the staff door at midnight. Give him the lighter from under the counter. Do not make eye contact. Between 1 a.m. and 1:30 a.m., every crawl space in the building will come alive. Stay on the tiles with white specks. All others will pulse. If a child enters after 2 a.m. asking for her mom, say, "She's not here tonight." Do not offer candy. It's a trap. If you see your own reflection moving differently, break the mirror immediately. Failure to do so will result in a permanent swap. At 3:33 a.m., there will be a knock from inside the gas pumps. Don't investigate. Feed it a coin with a hole in it. If the music starts playing from the static radio, do not dance. Let it finish. Applause means you're safe. No applause means run. At 4:44 a.m., the station will exhale. All doors will unlock. Do not leave. Stay exactly where you are. If the lights go out and don't return after 13 seconds, hide beneath the floor grate near aisle 1. It's the only space that's still clean. 9:47 p.m., whispers from the roof. He heard my mother's voice first, calling me by my childhood nickname. "Danny Bear, come outside. I made lemon bars. Your favorite. Except my mother's been dead since 2008. Cancer. Still, the voice was perfect. Same warmth. Same cadence. Then my little brother's voice. Then my ex-fiancé's. They all said the same thing. Just come outside. Just for a second." But I knew better now. Instead, I cranked up the static on the old radio and recited rule number 1 like scripture. Eventually, the voices turned into screams, then into howling. Then silence. 11:11 p.m. The freezer breath. As I watched it happen with my own eyes, the door to the walk-in freezer creaked open, slow and heavy. The cold didn't pour out. Instead, warm air spilled from the darkness like something was exhaling. Then came the sound, gurgling, groaning, moaning like something wet was stretching its mouth. I resisted the urge to close it. Sat behind the counter, whispering the new rule to myself over and over. Do not close it. Let it breathe. That's when I saw the meat move. It wasn't meat anymore. It slithered down the hooks, crawled on the floor like blind worms, dragging viscera behind them. One of them looked at me, not with eyes, but with a mouth. Whispered, "He's almost here." Midnight. Caleb RNS 3 soft knocks on the staff door, then silence. I froze. Remembered rule number 3. Give him the lighter. Do not make eye contact. I grabbed the red Bic from under the register, walked slowly toward the door, opened it. He was standing there. Caleb's body, but wrong. Too tall, skin tight like a stretched balloon, lips stitched into a grin, eyes pitch black, sunken deep. He held out a hand with fingers that bent sideways. I handed him the lighter. His smile widened. Then he whispered, "Burn the moon, Danny. Burn it before it sees you." Then he walked into the desert and vanished. into the dark point 1:00 a.m. The station comes alive. It began with a pulse that I thought it was an earthquake. But no, it was the floor. Breathing. Throbbing. Tiles turned soft. Like skin. They twitched when I stepped wrong. I remembered rule number 4. Stay on the white speckled tiles. So I moved like it was a game of survival hopscotch. One wrong step and the tile under aisle 5 split open like a mouth. Teeth inside. Real ones. A soda can fell and rolled over a red tile. The moment it touched the floor, something from below grabbed it and yanked it into the concrete. Gone, like it never existed. 2:11 a.m. The girl I he looked about 9. Pale, blonde hair matted, with dust, dress tattered. She walked in barefoot, holding a plastic doll with half a face. She looked up at me and said, "Have you seen my mommy?" I swallowed hard. Remembered rule number 5. She's not here tonight. I answered. The girl nodded, then smiled. Not childlike, not innocent. Her teeth were jagged, gray, filed into points. She walked toward the candy aisle, stopped, looked back. You're lucky. She's still sleeping. Then she dissolved into flies that scattered into the vents. 3:33 a.m. The knocking gas. PS knock 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 from outside. From inside the metal, like a person was trapped inside. Pump 2. I grabbed a coin from the drawer, one with a perfect hole in the middle, like it was punched through with a bone needle. I dropped it into the coin slot on the pump. The knocking stopped. A gust of wind swept through the station, and I swear I heard someone sigh, "Thank you." 3:57 a.m. The dance music. The static radio stopped buzzing, and music started. Jazz, warped and slow, like it was played underwater. Then something moved. Down aisle 3, an old man with no face waltzed in slow circles. His partner was invisible, but he twirled her. Then a woman with no skin joined. Then 2 children with sewn mouths. They all danced, and I stood there, fighting the urge to move. My feet started tapping on their own. I bit down on my lip so hard I tasted blood. The music stopped, and soft applause filled the room. Rule number 8 complete. I was still alive. 4:44 a.m. The gas station Sid happened just like the rule warned. Every door creaked open. The front, the staff room, the freezer, the vents. A wave of air whooshed through, hot and foul like 1,000 sighs at once. The lights dimmed, and something crawled out of the toilet in the men's room. I didn't move, didn't speak, just stared ahead. After 2 full minutes, all the doors slammed shut at once. The thing never came back out. 5:59 a.m. A new list S exactly 1 minute before shift's end. The lights pulsed red once, then green, and I found a note slipped under the freezer door. "Good job, Danny. You passed. You're not a guest anymore. You're becoming one of us. Tomorrow, the station will introduce itself properly." And under that note, a third list, titled, "Rules for when you become part of the station." 3 nights. I followed the rules. I survived the freezer's breath, the dancing corpses, and Caleb's return from whatever hellhole he crawled out of. But last night, the rules changed. Not just rewritten, personalized. Now they're no longer meant to protect me. Now, they're meant to transform me. And I think I'm becoming part of the station. This is the final shift. And Osterman Gas wants me to stay forever. July 5 to 8:44 p.m. I didn't sleep. The sky above Route 77 hadn't changed since yesterday. Pale, bruised, like something old was pressing its face against the horizon. The desert no longer felt like earth. It hummed beneath my feet. When I walked toward Osterman Gas, I could feel the ground breathing. The neon sign wasn't blinking anymore. It was watching. The O in Osterman pulsed with soft red light, like an eye dilating at the final LST waiting. For me on the counter was a list I hadn't written, typed in a language that shimmered and rearranged itself when I stared at it. When I blinked, it translated into English. Osterman Gas. Initiation protocol. This time, the rules are not yours to follow. They are yours to enforce. Tonight, the guests will arrive. Do not warn them. Do not help them. Observe. Record. Learn. You may be visited by your former self. If he asks for help, deny it. He is not real anymore. One of the guests will call you by your childhood nickname. Do not respond. Burn something instead. At 12:34 a.m., choose someone to replace. If you don't choose, the station will choose for you. You will be given a key. It opens the red door behind the back freezer. Open it only when you stop hearing your own thoughts. If you hear scratching from under the foundation, hum a lullaby your mother once sang. This calms them. If the vending machine dispenses something organic, eat it. It's a gift. When the sun begins to rise, if it rises, you'll know what to do. And at the bottom, welcome to the station, Danny. You're no longer just a clerk. You're the caretaker now. 9:11 p.m. First customer Aravisa rusty truck pulled in. Old Ford. Red paint stripped down to bone. Headlights flickered like they were barely alive. A woman stepped out. Late 50s. Wearing a denim jacket. Her eyes were bloodshot, like she hadn't slept in days. She walked in slow. Looked around like she recognized the place. I remember this gas station. From my dreams, she muttered. Then she looked at me and whispered, "You were in them, standing in the freezer, covered in frost," saying something backwards. She grabbed a soda, paid in coins that didn't feel cold. Before she left, she looked back and said, "You know they built this place on the edge of something, right? Something deep and hungry. They just called it a route so people wouldn't ask." Then she left. She never started her car, just walked into the desert and vanished. 10:33 p.m. Danny meets Danny. Saw myself enter. Not metaphorically, I mean I literally saw myself. Same hoodie, same jeans, same tired eyes. Walked through the front door like a lost traveler. "Danny," he asked, "what the fuck is this place?" His voice was younger, untouched. The version of me that still had hope. Maybe. I said nothing. Remembered rule #2. He looked around. Saw the freezer. Walked toward it. I whispered, "Don't open it." He turned around. "Wait. What? You know me. I am you." But I just walked behind the counter and watched. He opened the freezer and the cold swallowed him. Not air, an idea, the kind of cold that erases identity. The door shut behind him. I locked it. The station shivered. Almost like it was satisfied. 11:59 p.m. They arrived a caravan of vehicles, beaters, bikes, and even a Greyhound bus, pulled into the lot like a funeral procession. The parking lot filled with faces. Some had no eyes, some smiled without mouths. Some were still human, I think. The unlucky ones. Each entered, one by one. Every single one whispered as they passed, "We've been summoned." We heard the breathing. We dreamed of the red door. None of them looked at each other. None of them looked at me. But all of them left behind offerings. Teeth, baby shoes, carved wood dolls, wet photographs of people who didn't smile. I kept them all. The station demanded it. 12:34 a.m. Replacement air shimmered. Time slowed. The list on the wall glowed faint red as rule number 4 etched itself in fire. Choose who stays. Choose who becomes. I saw Caleb's body leaning near the coffee machine. Still twitching. Still humming. I saw the woman from earlier in the corner, whispering into a dead phone. I saw the little girl in yellow. Returned again, digging at her own face with a candy wrapper. The choice was mine. But before I could choose, the floor opened beneath the register. Something huge rose. Up. Not a creature, a shape. A concept made flesh. It showed me every version of myself across infinite timelines. The one who ran. The one who joined the shadows. The one who burned the list and was devoured. And it whispered, "Choose wisely, or become them all." So I chose. I pointed to the vending machine, and it spat out a candy bar, made of flesh. The woman disappeared. The girl smiled, and Caleb whispered, "Good choice." 2:22 a.m. The red dory could no longer hear my own thoughts. The station had grown inside me. I walked behind the freezer. The red door throbbed like a wound. I inserted the key, and the air turned thick, like I was walking underwater. Inside was not a room. It was a void. Endless gas pumps stretching into blackness. Pale lights hovering in midair. A giant face formed from shifting dust clouds. It had my voice. "You're no longer the night clerk. Danny, you're the rule now." Then it handed me a mirror, cracked, fleshy, alive. "Hold this. Judge those who enter. Decide what stays, what burns." 4:44 a.m. The station Yinalisikas. All the doors opened again. But this time, they didn't close. Instead, the ground outside split. The highway cracked like an eggshell, revealed nothing but teeth and smoke underneath. The sun tried to rise, but something blocked it. A shape the size of a mountain hovered in the sky, blotting out hope. Osterman Gas shook, and the last rule etched itself across the mirror's surface. If the sun does not rise, you are the light. If the guests never leave, you are the exit. If the rules fade, you must remember them. If the station awakens, you must feed it. 6 a.m. In Dublin, there was no sunrise, just a low, constant hum across the desert. Like something massive had exhaled and never stopped. I sat behind the counter, holding the mirror, watching the pumps ooze black nectar, watching new guests pull in. They don't see me anymore. They see a shadow in the window, a flickering figure behind the counter. Always watching, always recording, just like I saw the last guy. Just like the next guy will see me. Epilogue. If you're reading this, if you find this journal, this tape, this message burned into the underside of a gas station receipt, run. Don't apply. Don't stop here. Don't ignore the flickering sign. This isn't a gas station anymore, it's a gateway. And the rules weren't for your safety. They were to prepare you. Because once you enter Osterman Gas, you become part of it.